Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I am your humble host, Mr. David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers. And I greet you all with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And I continue to pray each and every day that each and every one of you will accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the blessings from the universe. Now, with that said, hi, Robert V. Hi, Teresa. Hi, Candy Apple. And I think Michelle was on earlier. I just went ahead and y'all were in the chat, and I was thinking about starting early anyway. Better than late, right? Um, I want to start out and send out prayers to all of our sick relatives and friends and neighbors and colleagues and folks. There are a lot of changes going on, a lot of things happening, a lot of people taking stock and just, just saying, well, wait a minute now, what are my priorities? So in this discussion about reevaluating, maybe it's our priorities. I thought about putting that in the title, but we have to reevaluate our fears. I know I have, and not necessarily that I'm more fearful, but there are things out there with all of the things going on, you know. I try not to say, certain words but you all know what I'm talking about. And how the economy is shut down and how the whole planet has been altered, changed, and the whole consciousness of things have changed. And so in our spiritual well-being and also in our own personal well-being, hi, Michelle, there you are. Hey, Robert G, I think I said hi, but I want to make sure. Blessings to you all. In our own spiritual journey, we have to, at times, because of circumstances around us, reevaluate our situation. As a shaman in training and the shamans and medicine men that I've met, it's how we adapt to the changes around us. So, for example, things could be hunky-dory and think of a shaman medicine man in the old days. Everything's hunky-dory. They're living out on the plain, and all of a sudden a storm comes up that it rains for 3 days. The river swells. Their village was set up, they thought far enough uphill from the river. But now all of a sudden, there are people who are threatened by floodwaters. Now, that's not something that anyone could foresee in future events or anything. Now, Mother Nature, as we all know, can play some funky tricks on us. And we had a pretty good 5 inches of rain here about a month ago, and it hasn't rained since. It sprinkled a little bit this afternoon, but was down on the river the other day doing a paddle. I needed to get out into nature and check and see how my new dog friend over here, Duggar, who's over here on the couch, was going to react in a kayak on the river, and he did real well. But in being down on the river and being in I'm always with nature, but being in it on the river with the water and the swamp and the nature, and it's a different feeling than just going outside the yard or looking at the trees. Although back down in my swamp, it's pretty good anyway. But I'm listening to myself and I'm thinking, there were many fears that I had that I've overcome over the years. Being on the river by myself, blah, 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 many things that I've discussed in my videos over the years. But now there's a whole new paradigm of, quote, fear. And I'm wondering whether or not some of this is a little bit hyped. And you say, well, Hawkeye, what do you mean by that? Well, it's about this stuff with the mask. Okay. Now, I did a video on it way back about how good a mask would really do us and etc. Now they have these comfort masks. It's automatic. For some reason, within 2 months, they're in full production with these things. Now think about this. So they did they have these things laying around on a shelf? These copper fitted masks that are so comfortable. Get this. You can wear them around the house. Now, if I'm here at the house and ain't nobody coming in or out or anything like that, why would I wear a mask at the house? Is there COVID thingy running around in here somewhere that I might not be able to detect? And so I should wear this. I should get comfortable now with wearing this around the house. So and these are the commercials that they've made in the last 2 months. And I have to stop and think about how long does it take to manufacture these things, to get things machined and then processed. And I'm like, they did this in 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. It usually takes 6 months to start something up. Okay. Even if you've got everything there, you have to get the product in, it takes time. So everything gets shut down, but now they've got all these copper masks, okay, that you can wear all the time is what per the, they're so comfortable. Okay, now I'm not saying that we shouldn't, be careful around each other. And there are people down here in the South, I've been to the stores and things, and folks are just kind of being normal. But there's just a little bit of extra space. That's all. There are some people with masks. Now, the people that work in a store, they have to deal with people coming in and out all the time. Okay. But for somebody who goes into the store and then comes out, I don't wear a mask. I haven't worn a mask. I've washed my hands with vinegar because it's the easiest and I got it and blah, blah, blah. But, as far as, a friend of mine, some friends of mine came to see me about a week ago. And the one friend, she's a little, a little on the way out there side. I thought I was bad. But she came into the yard, let alone into the house, with gloves on, with a mask and all this stuff. And she's like, "Hi, David, how are you? I haven't seen you in a while." And I'm like, "Okay, come on in." Her two friends, were nowhere near that, but it was her paranoia. It was her fear. It's her, whatever she has come up with. And not to say that I don't have any germs around me, but the idea, though, that to go just visit an old friend, you have to gear up and all this mask and stuff. Now, she may have had it, didn't want to bring it to me. Okay, I get that part too. But my point in this is that there's a fear there now and speculation and all this that we didn't have a few months ago is my point. That we're in this together. Now, there's a lot of love out there going on. And I think that's thumbs up, okay? But that has also changed our perception of what courage is for each of us, okay? I see y'all over there saying stuff in the chat, but you know me, I don't want to get over there and get off topic right away. And I love you all, I do, thank you. But we have to reevaluate our own personal stance, whether or not we're too close to the river and there's a thunderstorm that might raise the river. We need to be careful of things, just period. All right, now I want to state that the numbers, and maybe it's because of what they did, but the numbers never have been there for me as far as how deadly or whatever this is. Contagious, okay, I can agree with that. It's contagious and a high degree of that. But it has put a fear in us. That's where I want to go with this. Not about what's going on, but in the politics of things. Now there's fear in the politics. Now there's fear over here. Now there's fear over here. Now there's fear over here. People are fearful. What's this going to do for our future? Well, guess what, gang? Our futures have been changed by this event. Now, most of us are being very optimistic that these changes are good, that it's allowing people to spend a little time at home. There are more seeds being planted. There are more people who are growing little victory gardens again. I think that's wonderful. There are some wonderful things going on. People are reevaluating their own lives and going, I thought I needed this over here, and I realized I didn't really need it at all. But now that's not to say that you know, I've kind of got cabin fever. I was out on the river the other day with a couple of friends who just, you know, hey, let's go kayak. Well, okay, let's go. And off we went on an adventure. Um, it cost us dearly. We didn't have our personal flotation devices in the kayaks, and we each got a ticket for $65 for not having a flotation device in the kayak. Just saying, make sure you got your PFD. But now, but there was fear of folks down at the river because the for some reason, because people are outside more, summertime, so forth. Um, that the river police are out there more than they normally are, and folks are going. You know, I'm just sitting here, and there's only one person fishing, but they wanted to know where everybody's fishing license was. Well, I got mine. But the thing is, if a friend of mine goes with me and they're sitting in a chair beside me and I've got two poles, that doesn't mean that they're fishing. You know what I mean? So they're getting a little bit outrageous with some of this stuff, and it's like, what? So there's this fear of, now I don't know whether I want to go down to the river or not. Now I don't know whether blah 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 blah. So there are all these little things that keep popping up here and there. And I know everybody in their own life has got their own little things that pop up. These are just my own little examples around here. But to the point, though, most folks are just going in the store. Some folks have a mask on. Most folks don't. They're just operating in this quote social distancing. They're saying hi to each other, speaking to each other at the, filling up the gas tank. Hey, girl, how you doing? Across the parking lot. Folks are still communicating. And, things have changed, you bet. Now, say I got cabin fever, I'd love just to go to IHOP and sit and pig out, but that might have to wait a little while longer. But in other things, it's like, can still go to the feed store. You can still go get, you can still do these, and you can still do. And so in my life, a whole lot hasn't really changed other than certain things aren't on the shelves. In certain grocery stores around. The milkman's been sick, for example, and there hasn't been any milk in some of these stores around here for, a week or so, and it's like, and then all of a sudden there's a lot of milk. But to the point, sometimes there's a whole bunch of something, and you can't overstock on milk. But to the point, though, that we're all have gotten this far. That's number one. We have gotten through this much of it. And for what looks like the worst of it. Now, are they trying to scare us again? I'm just saying, with this next round might be worse. We're already kind of geared up for this, Is it really going to come back around? Is it really going to be something else? So we have to stop and reevaluate ourselves. How do we fit in this picture? How does my life change or hasn't changed or has been affected, or is it affecting me at all? To me, it's just a small portion, in the grand scheme of things. I know people who aren't working and their incomes are down, and things have changed drastically for them, where they used to go around and do this thing and blah, 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 and do work and all. People are saying, not now. Wait a little bit or something, or and so you just have to scratch your head and go, where are we going to go with this? Well, the next part of this is courage. We have to have enough within ourselves to have the courage to accept change. And I can mumble and grumble about, where's all the frickin' milk? How come we don't have this? We got all kinds of this other stuff that don't mean crap. But how come I haven't, thank goodness. It's a pointless thing. But it has tested my patience in that, wow, I used to be able to go to the store and get a gallon of milk, at least half a gallon, they didn't have any butter. Just a lot of stuff was just ain't there. So, but we're adjusting. I'm like, okay, I got some canned milk. All right, I've got this. So we have to have the courage from this point on, because things are going to change. How? I've had some prophecy stuff come my way, and some of it has come true. And I think I'm going to talk about it at another time rather than now, because I'm still kind of disseminating some of the information, if you will. And like, what does this mean in the long run? But we can all say this: we can feel it within our bones. The change has already happened. Now, what is the outcome of the change is going to depend upon us and what we choose to have the courage to be able to say, wait a minute now. Now you're going to tell me there's another one coming up and this is twice as bad. Not to say that we should poo-poo it right off the bat, but we should have the courage to go, what y'all doing here? How did y'all get these copper masks into production by the thousands or millions if people start buying these things from the commercials on the TV? How did they get those things in production so quick? I ask myself. Made in America, that's wonderful. But where did they get the stuff, and how did they get the machinery? And how could they produce so many of these in so much time that now they have commercials for them? I've been watching the commercials going, how in the hell did these folks do that? Honestly, how did they do that? So, to the other point is that, are there certain areas like, whoa, we can sell masks until through this next century, because we're going to condition everybody that you got to have one of these comfortable masks that you can wear around the house. I choose not to be in that fear category, period. There's enough farm and agricultural crap in the air around here when on a hot day and it's in the air and farmers are disking and all this stuff. Listen, a coronavirus, please, that's the least of my worries. I'm worried about the cotton dust and the this and the that and the agricultural spray, the Roundup that they put out by the thousands of gallons around here, even though it says right on the TV commercials, Roundup will give you cancer. Folks are putting it out all over the place. And sometimes you can smell it in the air around here. And what am I supposed to do? Hold my nose, wear a mask? Oh, that doesn't work. So, but am I worried about, nah, I'm not. I'm more worried about the local stuff. You know what I mean? Now, how do we, if we see that our situation is now tenable, in other words, we live in a town with a crap load of people and there was all this stuff and it was really difficult. And maybe you have the opportunity, and you must find the courage to make a change for your future, because our futures are going to be different from this. Now, I don't think, everything's going to stop and all this kind of stuff. No, they're manipulating the markets and the money and everything. Oh, you betcha. But the thing is that the best we can do is roll with the punches. Save a little bit of money back if you can. If you have to have something, buy it. But if you can squander 5 or 10 or 20 bucks or however much and put it aside, do so. Not because, money might run out or something like that. It's just that we don't know what's fixing to come. Now, as far as my, I'm thinking about the title of this video, the angel message. Now, I for those of you who know about my video about the Silent 72 and Dante and that, then this is sort of along those lines. I was listening to one of Dante's recent videos, and he continues to say, which is something that I got down in the woods the other day when I was with Mother Nature, and it's that we must have faith at all costs. Because for many of us, whatever our faith is, it's being tested right now because of all of the different paradigms that are happening around us that we really don't have any control over. Now, but we can control what goes around us. So the other day, it was just that whatever it was, I had to go to the river. I just had to go to the river. And hadn't been to the river in quite some time for various and sundry reasons. And I realized that the only way for me to heal and for me to get part of myself back is because I use the river and the nature and the paddling. very zen to me. You know, when you paddle 6 miles, especially through some of the stuff we were paddling through, oh my God, you know, we were in the swamp getting out and having to drag your kayak over sandbars and logs and stuff. Only saw one snake, by the way, but and it was just a banded water snake. But to the point, though, we were sloshing and goshing and up to here in water and clearing out branches so that we could get through. It was, yeah, I felt like a teenager. I couldn't move the next day. But I had a ball when I went, you know, with these two younger folks. But you know, they had to paddle to keep up with me. I stayed ahead of them most of the time, you know, and not trying to race them. That's just how I paddle. But anyway, but I had to get back to the river, and I had to get back to paddling, and I had to get back to sitting in you know, in the quiet swamp and to collect my thoughts. And it was like, no matter what comes up, you have to have faith. You know, when you're out paddling, and I use that as a good example all the time, you have to have faith in your own abilities. And I always push mine. You know, we've got to this bridge that a lot of people don't swear they've been up the river, but apparently not, because they would not have missed this big giant steel and post and beam bridge that crosses the river. We had difficulty getting under it and through it, but anyway, and we went 2 miles north of that. It was great. The water's almost too low. And one of these days, you know, if y'all are ever in the neighborhood, I got 5 kayaks and a canoe. Let me know. I'm serious. You know, that was my friend the other day. He was like, you know, with your new trailer and everything, and yes, I'm going to show you my trailer. I'm still making some adjustments, but the idea, though, the courage to go up the river, the courage to paddle, the courage to go in a place where you say, oh my God, there's all these weeds and stuff. And you get out in the swamp and you go through it anyway, so you can go upriver some more. That takes courage. But there are some things I'm realizing that have, how do I put this? Reoccurred circumstances that have reoccurred in my life that has challenged my own sense of what my courage is. And I'm not going to get into detail about it. In fact, I'm going to be probably quite vague. But in that, I will be honest in saying this: my courage has been tested because of old feelings and things that have come up that I've had to reevaluate, feeling current feelings and premonitions, and having them come true around me has affected me. Okay. And having the courage to take the next step and say, you know, this isn't the same thing, but it's close to 4 other times. And I have to have the courage to go, you know, I don't want to go through this again. I have been through this 4 times before. I really don't want to do this. I don't want to You have to find the courage. And I'm doing this video because I'm kind of talking to myself in that I have to have enough courage to be able to take the next step. As we all must have courage to take whatever the next step is. And I surely cannot speak for you, but the angel message that I keep getting, I got it last week and the last few days and so forth. And I had to cogitate on it, right? And when I saw Dante's video earlier that he made a week or so ago, or a couple of days, whatever, he said, of all things, have faith. And I was like, that's the message I keep getting. Regardless of what comes to us, we've got to have faith. We've got to have the courage to keep our faith, to keep that within us, that love. And when I was listening to, you know, I was lurking in the background mostly during Milky Way Messenger and Trina. And so I'm fooling around. I don't know if this shows up the right way or not. Anyway, it looks backwards from here. Anyway, and I was thinking, to the within, the inside speaking to the self, to the whole self, to the soul spirit. So when we reevaluate from within. And how do we do that? We allow the inside to speak to us, to speak to ourself. So I've had my own conversations about my own courage and being able to step up and do the things that are necessary and are needed and are really out of my realm. And I didn't plan on this stuff, but I still have to deal with it. I still have to do it. And I still have to have the courage to move forward. So within myself, I have to allow myself to speak to myself, to the whole self. And you've heard me speak about this in other videos, about the spirit, the soul spirit. There is the soul, and then there's the spirit. And the soul is the old energy, and the spirit, which is what we contain now. And our spirit can contain what we do now and the energies and the things that fluctuate and our experiences now. Our soul is the old stuff, the ancient stuff, where our spirit, it has that because it's part of the soul, but our spirit is what we manifest in this reality right now. And so they're both connected, but the spirit is current, where the soul is ancient for each of us. So when we understand that, and to a lot of people, that's a hard one to swallow, and I kind of get that. But you must stop and just allow the question to sink in and go, well, wait a minute. My soul is ancient, but my spirit is current. I currently have the spirit of love and the spirit of friendship and the spirit of, but my soul is old and has many reiterations, reincarnations. Okay. I won't repeat that. I hope. But anyway, I hope you get the idea. So, and hi, Delaney and Michelle, Teresa, Project, Robert V. I see y'all writing stuff. I'll be with you. But so with this soul experience, what does our spirit allow through this time? So you got to have the conversation. Your soul already knows all this old stuff. So you got to use the wisdom. Have the courage to be honest and truthful. And that's one of the things I had to be honest and truthful with myself the other day, is I lacked the courage. And I was like, well, shame on you. I've been able to, go through blizzards and things and stuff and this and that. I had the courage to do that, but on certain other things, I lack the courage. So I have to go within and find that courage. I know it's there, but for whatever reason, I'm having difficulty with it right now. Because of my previous events, not counting whatever's happened before, but in this life. So, but anyway, so I'm going to find the courage in this. I will, because I'm having this video. So in that sense right there, I have to be able to say, I'm stronger than this. You are stronger than that. Whatever it is that in your life, we have to have the courage to say, you know what? Well, damn it. We were on the river, right? Got ourselves into it was literally a log jam. I mean, great big trees all mangled together. And we had somehow went one way and missed it. But on the way back, we hit this thing, right? And I mean, there was no way of getting around it. We literally had to crawl through it and move limbs. It was a mess, right? It was still a lot of fun, like a little kid playing in the river, moving stuff. And anyway, and it was a nice warm day when the water was cold. And so it was great. But the idea, though, that the courage, though, to face whatever it is, maybe it's to call a relative, like I need to call my sister. That's one of my lack of courage. She has breast cancer. and I don't know what to say to her. And so my silence is what she's heard, and silence is not what she needs. I need to be able to speak to her as her older brother, well, the eldest brother, I guess. I am the oldest of the crew, but to be able to have the courage to speak to her. And I have empathy and feelings, and I love her, and I send out love all the time to my sister. But the thing is though that I don't have the courage sometimes to pick up the phone and say hello. Now to me, that's just chicken shit on my part, you know, but in being totally and completely honest. So, I'm going to by doing this video, I'm going to make myself feel guilty enough to where I'm going to call her. I know that's like a twisted sense of psychotic, whatever, psychopath, anyway. But the thing is though, there are other things though, that we're going to have the courage, because all of these things have been modified and changed in the world. Now, Dante, and I'm going to say this for right now, and I might do a separate video on this. Now, I don't particularly I don't think, have any inside information with Dante or anything like that. But there are many times that I get certain feelings, vibes, projections, downloads, whatever you want to call it. Premonitions. I hate to use that word, but in so many ways it is. And so there are some changes coming up. And from May the 10th, which was a week ago, Dante has stated that in the next 72 days, there are going to be some interesting changes take place. And I've been watching him and subscriber of his for years. And all I can say is that when normally he says something like that, you should keep an eye out. What it is, not a clue. Now, I've got some feelings, and I hate to be a pessimist, okay? But, we've got the bad guy side. And the bad guys are trying their best to be bad and to try to kill as many of us. You know the drill. So with that said, the best thing we can do is have the courage to keep ourselves out of that mindset. Well, they're going to do this thing again, the chemtrails and it. Okay. We have that information now, but do we continuously talk about the chemtrails? We've all kind of we throw it around once in a while and discuss it or show a picture, but is our topic for discussion chemtrails anymore? No, but we're all wearing masks for this virus and thing, but maybe the masks are for, anyway. But so our paradigm is changing every single day. And there are movers and shakers on a big scale. And we are aware of these changes. And something is, as Sherlock Holmes would say, Watson, the game is afoot. So I think that the good versus evil, basically, them bad guys are going to try to pull some more serious shenanigans. And the good guys and we're the good guys. We have to have the courage to say, I'm not going to play this game with you guys. I'm confident with myself. I've got my family. I've got my dog. I've got my thing. And I'm already have figured out that, through this, last 2-3 months, that what I actually need and what I can get by with, etc. Now, I know there are people out there that are really, really suffering. They overextended themselves and were right on the edge before, and this threw them into a tailspin. We must pray for them folks and help them out wherever we can. I mean, I've been buying stuff for folks because I literally have everything I need other than a new gallon of milk. I'll go to the store tomorrow. But the idea, though, that is there anything that I really actually require? I've got my electricity. I've got my basic things. I'm good to go here. But I'm used to this. A lot of people aren't used to this. But I think that their mindset is changing in that, you know what? maybe it could be different for them. Maybe if things go back to normal, they may still continue to grow a victory garden. Good idea. So maybe folks are going to carry this, whatever happens in the future, that we carry it forward. So I think we keep on a positive note. However, that not everything is going to be positive about this. I just got a feeling. And I don't want to be a doom and gloomer, but it's sort of like, there's a tropical storm off the coast of the United States right now, the eastern coast, right? It's a little early, don't you think? But I remember that around Memorial Day back in, I don't know, 66 or 7 or 8 or something like that, we went down to Key West, and by the time we could get to the 7 mile, that long old highway down there across the Keys, if you've ever been down there, long bridge. And back in the day, man, it was a little narrow bridge, man. Now I think they got a double bridge. But anyway, but to the point though, we got down there and you couldn't, it was just nothing but storm. And at that time, it was the earliest storm hurricane recorded up to that point. That was back in the early 60s. And it chased us all the way back to Tampa and then come across the state and hit Tampa after we got home. But it gave us a chance to board up the picture window and all that kind of stuff. And then we had a hurricane party when we got back from our vacation. But you never know what's going to happen. So, there's a storm brewing. Okay. I wasn't expecting it to rain. Went outside today to, work on the kayaks and do a little stuff in the trailer. And it started a shower. And I was like, well, there was a little bit of thunder and lightning nearby. So I came back in the house, but I was like, I was not expecting a shower. Thumbs up, wasn't much, but whatever is happening with the 72 and for the next 72 days, I think we should just be wary. Like, there's a storm off the coast. Doesn't mean it's going to turn into a hurricane. Doesn't mean it's going to kill a bunch of people, but there is a storm. And we can all agree that there is an evil storm that's trying to propagate this. And the more of us who say, no, I refuse to allow my emotions to go in that direction. I'm going to stay safe in who I am. I'm going to continue to send out love to my friends and my neighbors. And I'm going to have the courage. I'm talking to myself here now. I'm going to have the courage to do what's necessary and what needs to be done in a lot of different ways. And so doing this video, I wasn't going to do it. I was like, nah, I was doing a little fist fight with myself earlier. I was like, no, see, you got to have courage. You got to talk about this. You got to bring this up because there are many things people may not have the courage to face or do or change. And so in that respect, there are many folks who are going to be in a topsy-turvy kind of situation. Some of the energies coming from outer space and the sun, wow. The UV index down here for like 5 days in a row was 11. It was extreme. You could walk outside and, go out and let the dog chase the cat for a few minutes and walk back inside. And I felt like I was in a easy bake oven or something, But so there are a lot of things affecting us and a lot of things and a lot of weirdness in the background, if you will. Without trying to be, I don't know any specifics, but you can agree there's folks out there who would like for this outcome to be different. And for many of us to be very and seriously hurt. And the fact that we're dealing with it in ways that I think has shocked a bunch of folk proves that we human beings down here on this planet, in my opinion, I hope y'all are listening, we're not as bad as we maybe that we were previously, led to believe. There are a lot of us who should change our ways and be more caring and kind and okay. But, if the angels are, and they are watching all the time, the spirits are always watching. If they're keeping an eye on us and watching, and we keep being a bunch of blundering idiots, then that's all they can, then they consider us blundering idiots. But when we show that even we can be blundering idiots sometimes, but at the same time, we can be cohesive and work together. it was interesting. I was watching an old episode of MASH earlier this evening. And in it, it was an earlier version of Trapper and Hawkeye, and anyway, and not Colonel Potter, but Henry, the first one, Colonel in the thingy of MASH. But anyway, and they'd sent a psychiatrist down to evaluate the doctors and the nurses, okay, because the higher command had heard that these folks are crazy. So they wasn't supposed to know that he was there, and he was just going to evaluate and look at things. And so when the general got there at the end, they were fighting in this and that and the other thing, and radar comes in and says, helicopters, wounded coming in. They all broke their bickering, went into the operating room, and they all worked together and were saving these people. And so at the end of it, the general comes in and he says, okay, where's my report from the psychiatrist doctor? And the psychiatrist says, listen, these people are nuts. They are infighting and bickering, and they play, childish games and pranks on each other, but they are the most cohesive group I've ever seen in an operating theater. And if you break them up, it would be catastrophic. And the general was like, so we can all be crazy in our own little way, but how we interact with one another. And having the courage to go, you know what? You and me, rah, 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 you're from your, blah, 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 blah. Okay, we can babble and argue and have little spats and whatever. But at the end of the day, can we get together and say, hey, but we want the same thing? We are still members of the League of Like-Minded Beings. We are still members of the cosmic community. We understand. I don't know in particular where my place is in this. I just know that I have a role, and you all are the proof because of your comments, your love. You come and hang out, and thank you. But I'm sharing my personal, sometimes a little too personal, TMI. But how else can we grow? How can I grow without explaining it, without sharing it, and without, there are higher understandings of this. There are many times we get caught up in the gods of this or the that or the thing. And when we find things about ourselves and about our spirituality by seeking other places. Y'all come here. Many of you have said, Hawkeye, you're like a guru. But at the same time, I don't feel like a guru. So the guru part, I don't feel like a guru, but you may interpret it as I am a guru in that the wisdom that I speak or the topics. And that's okay, but I don't make the guru, you do. So I can see a wise man and a medicine man or an old gentleman or an older lady or woman. And I can say this person was a medicine person. This person was a spiritual guide. This person was a guru to me. Were they actually a guru? You know what I'm saying? So I thank you for your comments, but understand, you're the ones that interpret the guru part. I'm just Hawkeye, Two Feathers. I'm just another human being on this planet that has a quirky sense of humor, and I like to twist things up. It was like earlier on Milky Way Messenger. I wrote in it was in the chat, and it was just a rhetorical question: does love hurt, or is it the absence of love? Well, I kind of already knew the answer, but the question, I wanted to pose it to everyone. So does the love actually hurt, or is it the lack of that love that hurts? But there are times when you can love so much that it hurts because whoever or whatever on the over there ain't picking it up, ain't using it, or is misinterpreting it or something where it goes wrong. So you overextend your love, if you will. And I would beg to say that maybe that is actually painful. But it's in our own self, and it's within our own within. It's our soul spirit. Does it hurt? What is the hurt part? Is it that our love was rejected or not accepted, or was that we put too much into something, is it a feeling of inadequacy? I mean, oh boy, you could go a lot of places with that particular topic. But the thing is that from a shaman in training's point of view, there are certain situations and circumstances, say that 3 times in a row real quick, that we say, well, I've been through something like this, but then all of a sudden you're in a situation and you go, oh, holy crap, now what do I do? Certain things are literally taken out of my hands while being left with other things that have to be dealt with one way or the other. And so you say to yourself, wait a minute, how did I get here? What just transpired? I was moseying along over here, and all of a sudden it's like, my paradigm has changed. And it could be a small thing, it could be a big thing. And maybe those of you might be able to read between the lines in some of what I'm talking about. But in general, and in life in general, what's coming at us, let's try to be optimistic. We have to have the courage if it turns south. But we ought to have enough information right now to say, you know what? I think I can modify my behavior. I think I can adapt. I think that now that I see a little bit of what's going on here, I think I can stay out of some of the chaos and the tragedy and the stuff. But at the same time, we have to have the courage to stand up for our own personal space and our, whatever it is, without being bat crap cray cray. We have to maintain some civility. We absolutely must. And there are some people that this is kind of driving them a little batty, and we must have patience because we don't know what's going on inside their little tickers. I don't want to get the virus. I don't want to get this thing. I don't want to get sick. I don't want to die. I want to die. Okay, calm down. Keep your panties from getting in a bunch so much, But anyway, so that's pretty much where I am on this, in that the next 72 days, actually it would be 72 minus 7 because it was last Sunday on the 10th. So, but 60 some odd days to see what transpires. I mean, there's going to be more than that transpire beyond 72 days, but we've kind of sort of been warned about the next 72. So just saying, keep an eye out for stuff and just, let's see. The courage part. Courage comes in all different shapes and sizes. And I don't know about your situation, but whatever may befall us or you or them or whatever, we got to be able to reach out a hand, even if it is in this realm, if you will, versus in person. Social distancing. Man, that just would not have worked back in the hippie days, but just saying. Wow, man, pass that joint, we'll just, there's a virus going around. Where's it at, man? I can remember some places like that back in the late 60s and early 70s. But times have changed, and they're going to keep changing. So let's adapt. Let's have the courage. And in that courage, we must be brave. I don't know what's coming. There's some things, and I've kind of isolated them to where, let's just say death and destruction. Or death. And I kind of sort of have that put over here right now. And I'm allowing the rest of this information to kind of filter in. We'll see I'll let you know how things go. Knowing about the a darkness or a death or that kind of thing, and having understood the presence, it really threw me for a loop. I mean, I'm recovering, okay? And I will have a little bit more detail about this and be a little bit more specific because I think it's important for all of us in how we deal with tragedies. And like my sister has cancer and I don't call her and so forth, and like I should. And that courage and bravery, I can go down in the river and face snakes and the swamps and whatever, but I don't have the courage to do certain things because of how they affect me personally. I don't want to get choked up when I'm speaking with my sister because, her condition is such that, she might not, you know, make it to the other side. And the chemo is making her very sick. And that's not a nice thing. I've seen too many people go through it and die from it. I've held their hands. My stepmom, well, she was my mom, but anyway, I was adopted when I was 3.5. But so, I sat with her in hospice, and she died at home. And there's just, so when things like this come back to me, this isn't my first rodeo. And in certain ways, it's like I have empathy and love, and I wish health and so forth, but at the same time, it shuts me off. And I go, here's another one I got to deal with. Here's another person that's got cancer. Here's another person that's going through chemo. My good friend down the road, he's still having issues. He had colon and cancer, and Mr. Randy and I, we did radio and theater together, and we had our own little brotherhood club, kind of, sort of, because we were ostracized by the other folks because we were crazy old, rednecks that lived in the country and blah, blah, blah. And so here we go again, and so I have to find the courage within me to go, "God, it's their first time. It's my 20 or 30th time with having to deal with something like this. And do I have the courage?" It's like, God, I just want to go, God damn, man, haven't I done this enough? Haven't enough people and younger than me died in accidents and stuff? And, in a lot of ways, maybe I should have been the one that was kicked out, and let them live, trade places. But I obviously have a value. But to the extent, though, that I have to drum up this courage again because, well, it's happened before. Yeah, here we go again. So part of me just says, I just don't want to deal with this. It's not that I don't love or care or whatever, but no, not again. Not again. Please, Jesus, not again. And not just one, but 2 or 3. My daughter's going to have to go in the hospital here in a couple of weeks. And, she's having severe neck pains and injuries. And I've had 3 operations on my neck. So I'm like, honey, Pops has been through this, right? But it's her first time. And she's not been through it. And she's not used to the pain and the thing. And so it's like, oh, my God. So I'm okay in my little space here. But what about the other folks? What about the other people, our family and our relatives and our friends, And there are times when I'm being too honest, but I just want to say, forget it. Because I just don't want to deal with it. Not again. Not another cancer. Not another thing. Not another operation. Not another illness. Oh, Jesus, please. Haven't we had enough? And I guess the answer is no. So, I'll come through this, but the thing is that at this particular moment in time, and to, as in my honesty and speaking with you all, here I go again. here, well, maybe it's here we go again, in that each of us may have certain circumstances. So, and I can remember when my pops died, and in the hospital, I was very strong for all the siblings and everything, and I held it together. And when Bessie passed away, and the thing, and I handled that, and I stayed with her for about 2 weeks there. I lost my job over it because I felt it was more important to be with her at her death than it was for me to worry about a job. I I lost a good paying job in the future, but to the point, I would never have changed the fact that I chose to be with Bessie, she was my adopted mother, when she was at her sickest and dying, you know, my grandmother, I was there. I watched her as she was crying, climbing up to heaven. We spoke about it, her and I together, and the cancer that she had, and she elected not to have any kind of chemo. She goes, no, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die. But you're not going to put me through all that. And she didn't. And then she passed peaceably, and a grand old lady she was, my granny. But here I go again. I've got more of this. I'm 67. Damn it, when does it stop? I guess it ain't gonna stop till I die. You know what I mean? So, but at this particular time in my life, the situations and so forth, to have these things hit me and to have to deal with them in a way that I'm sorry, I was not prepared for. I have to be honest and truthful with myself, and to share that honesty with you folk. This is not out of pity, mind you. This is my own self-analyzation. But at the same time, each of us are going to be faced with finding the courage and finding the faith, because that's the other thing. Do I have enough faith in my own courage? You know what I'm saying? Do I have enough faith in my own wisdom? And the answer a couple of days ago was hell no. I didn't. My voice cracked. I couldn't speak, and there was nothing I could say. And I chickened out because of my own fear. So this title and this subject is very near and dear to me at the present time, but it's in so many different layers, if you will. But it is all very important because it deals with other people's feelings and emotions. I love these folk, but I'm a chicken shit for not calling them up and encouraging them. And even if it means they're dying, I got to still call up and be encouraged. I got to do this again. The answer is yes. And that's what I realized the other day, and that I've been mulling over yesterday and today. And that, this is a serious thing. And I can sit here in my little space and pray and do a video, but that's really not enough. It really isn't. And I have to have the courage to do more. So if anything that I would ask for you folks, it would be a prayer that I gain the courage. But as far as, there are other folks that need prayers much more than I do. And I'll get through this. It's only been a short time, couple of days of understanding and knowing some things. And, when big things come and fall in our laps, I would rather there be silence so that I can hear myself think and the universe, than to make a rash or rapid decision that I can't get my feet back out of, because I've been there before. And you get stuck in a situation and you go, now what do I do? This is not what it was intended to be, but it's ended up like this. Oh, shit. Not my intention. My intention was pure. My goals were pure. But stuff happens. And then you have to reevaluate your courage, your fears, and also maybe your priorities. my priorities have changed drastically in this last week. And now I'm like, well, now what do I do? So, and kind of walking around the house, and I got this to do and that to do, but the priorities have changed. Okay, what does that mean in the long run? Well, it's only personal, but to the point though, priorities have changed, and because circumstances have changed, and none of this did I foresee. None of this did I understand ahead of time, but I have to deal with it now. Have to have the courage of it, and it'll work out. It'll work out. But gotta say, I was a little floored by it all and from it all and so forth. So let me scan over here and see. Teresa, how are you? She says things get in the way. It's on purpose. I sometimes wondered that, you know. I really do. Hi, David Casso. I will add you to my thoughts. Positive vibes headed your way, brother. Thank you. And be in the now. Absolutely. That's sort of what I was going in through before. But you know, there are certain situations, and some of you kind of know what's a little bit about it. But in that um, somebody gets sick or gets cancer or something, that's not something that that's on your list of like, well, I'm going to get cancer today, and I'm going to go to the hospital tomorrow, and I'm going to start chemo on Thursday, and I'm going to, things change, and it's out of all of our hands in the grand scheme of things. Because if I had a magic wand, I would have waved it already, but it didn't work. But some things are too far along that we can't fix. And that's one of the things that bothered me, and that when I found out about the leukemia, it has bothered me greatly. And it's out of my hands. It's in the universe's hands. It's in God's hands. And my sister and her breast cancer, my daughter with her thing, and my daughter's mother and her issues and not breathing and emphysema and her heart problems. And I worry about, because I got a some kind of a splinter in the bottom of my foot that I can't seem to quite get out. But so my issues are different than other people's. But and I'm very lucky in that, and I count my blessings every day. And there are times when I wonder to myself, with all the crap that I've been through, why isn't that me? Not that, because I lived a lot of my life in that I shouldn't be here. I'm not good enough to live. I have nothing to offer to the world, and blah, blah. It was a lot of years of therapy, right? But we have to have, I had to learn that, hang on, I do have something to offer. And maybe it's the comfort, maybe it's this discussion, maybe we each have some little hidden thing within us that we need to say, I don't know if I have the courage to face this. Or I don't know if I have the courage to ask for help, which is something that, OMG, asking for help. I've learned to ask for help, especially when necessary. But there are some folks that still, for whatever reason, their pride, their humility, their self-something. But me and my friend Marcia, we've been friends for 40-something years. And I was over at her house the other day. In fact, she called me up and said, hey, come over and play cards or whatever. We'll watch a movie tonight. And I'm doing this. But, I told her, I said, with all the years, we've had spats, we've had periods where we didn't speak to each other for years, literally years, but we're still friends after it all. And that if we don't bring up, well, you remember that time when you did, none of that happens between us. We live here in the now. We know that shit happened and we can talk about it. And I can say, well, I was pretty crazy, but you're a little crazy too there, but anyway, but we can laugh about it and joke about it and look back and go, we made it through all of this crap, but we're still friends after all these years. And, but we have to have, there's courage in that and bravery in that, because I have to been able to tell myself, there was things she warned me about. And I was like, oh, well, I know what I'm doing. And actually she was pretty much more right than I was. But in the discussion of things, though, it's like being able to say, well, you know what, maybe your point of view was correct, or maybe I should have considered your point of view when I didn't. Or maybe I should have not necessarily, I'm going to do what you tell me, but maybe I should have called you up and I just had a little conversation. I'm thinking about doing blah, blah, blah. What do you think? It doesn't hurt for a second opinion, ever. And if you're mulling things around, the things that I've learned the most, if I've had issues with things, I go ask someone who may have the answers that I need. And if it feels right or works out or something, then that was good information. But we have to, sometimes our pride gets in the way. And if it gets in the way of our health or our well-being, then, but you can't make a horse drink. You can take him to the river, but you can't force him to drink, So you can show people and critters. I'm speaking about my new friend Duggar over here. In that this is how it will be easier this way. Like the dog jumped out of the kayak the other day, realized it was a bad mistake. And before he could actually even paddle, he was climbing back in that kayak. And of course I grabbed him by his halter thingy and put him back in the kayak. And I was like, I guess you won't do that again. But all the coaxing and explaining and, don't jump out. You're going to change your mind until you jump out of the kayak and find out that there ain't a bottom down there. I'm going to get back in. So, but whatever it is, we have to have the courage. We have to have the tenacity. And sometimes I know I blamed other people for my problems. When you say, well, but, I was going to mental health. Well, you people aren't giving me the answers I need. Well, but I was seeking something they couldn't give me. So, but I had to realize it within myself, but I was taking all of their drugs, so it was keeping me confused. So, but when I got off of their drugs, I realized I didn't need them because I already had the answers, or I could find the answers I was actually looking for without having to go to mental health. Oh, okay. So maybe I'm not really bipolar after all. Maybe I'm not schizophrenic. Maybe I'm not whatever they, wrote down on their dead gum little pads all the time. Because I would go in there and ask them some of the craziest questions. And I know them folks sat across the desk and went, what the hell is this freaking guy talking about here? Jesus, Christmas, Jesus. Oh my God, I got. So, but I've had a couple of really good therapists who helped me out tremendously. And one of the things that I had was an abandonment issue, but I found out that like 55% of adopted folk have some type of abandonment issue, because they're not with their biological mother. It's not that they're not loved or cared for or whatever. They literally miss the essence of their mother. And I was like, yeah, I get that. But until I realized it, I was like, wait a minute, I'm not the only one here. And so every time I was like, well, I'm lonely, I feel abandoned. Hang on, this goes back. You've got a reason for this core value that's misaligned in me. So, but it gave me a place to go, hang on, wait a minute. Adopted children, adopted people and folks have these same issues, 55% of them, that's a lot of freaking people. So, but it's because of this separation anxiety of the spirit, the essence of the mother and the child. Oh, it put my whole brain and everything into a whole different context so that I could reevaluate my fears and reevaluate my courage and reevaluate my own faith. And I went, you know what? I'm really not alone, am I? Oh, I've sort of conjured this thing up. It is a real thing, but it's because of, and you can handle this, and oh, I don't need medicines to deal with this anymore. Ah, better off in the long run. My friends, I love you. I do. Thank you so much for hanging out with me this evening. I know I'm loved in the community. Thank you to Brian, Milky Way Messenger. Thank you, Trina, for the comments and all that you've made. Projects, Skyfalls. Yeah, be strong. Resiliency, Michelle says. Absolutely. I love you, Guru. Thank you. See, and I've always had, issues with that. Like, don't call me a guru. Don't call me a guru. But I get it and I understand it. And because there are those folks that I have met in my life they were gurus to me, or medicine people, or shamans, or. But because of their wisdom and so forth. So I understand that, and I'm less likely to go. Now, don't you call me that. Thank you. I get it. Thank you very much. I love you all. I do. Um, there's more topics to come up, but with everything that's going on right now, number one, I would say deal with your fear first. You got to have the courage to say, okay, this is freaking me out. Why? What's the deal? Anything I can do about it? And take it apart. Tear it apart. Why am I afraid of this? Why is this thing that's what I've been doing the last few days? What am I fearful of? Where did my courage go? How come, so but in doing that, in tearing it apart into little shreds and little pieces, and then going, this piece over here, yeah, and this one over here, yeah, the rest of it, yeah, okay, but this really ticks me off, and this scares the crap out of me. Everything else is, it's just paper. But so one could say, well, wait a minute, don't you have to have courage first? We're going to kind of assume that. But we got to be able to take apart whatever is going to put us in fear. And by going through the breakdown of what's causing us fear, regardless, we will gain courage, and we will become more brave, because by tearing it apart and going, well, I don't like the outdoors. Well, why? Well, the outdoors have bugs. They have lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. But you say, but okay, so wait a minute. You don't like the outdoors because of bugs? Well, there might be a snake. You're in a park. But okay, well, mosquitoes. Okay, bugs. Okay, so maybe it's not the outdoors. Maybe it's not nature. Maybe it's the bugs out in nature. Maybe it's the snakes out in. It's not. You see what I'm saying? So there are folks will be general in their fear. But when you say, well, wait a minute, now let's break this down. What really is fearful? Well, snakes. Well, if you take a walking stick, most of the times, if a snake does get in your way, you can flick them out of the way. Even a rattlesnake, what? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And if you do this and you go, so you give people confidence so that their fears are at least, toned down. But instead of just, well, I'm not going outside because I'm afraid. Well, agoraphobic, or, agoraphobic, is that where you're fearful of Angora? Never mind. But by tearing apart the fear, by going into it, whatever the situation, it makes us more brave and confident. And it's sort of like diving down our own personal rabbit hole. You know what I mean? So, but the thing is you got to be honest when you find things. You got to look at it and go, well, and I've been a chicken shit. And you have to be able to, it's okay. We're human beings. We can be chicken shit at times when, but the thing is that we must have the courage and be brave and step out of that and move on to the next one, you know. At least in my world, that's why I'm still here and still kicking, I reckon, is that, have got to you got to be, if you're just sitting still, not to say why are you here, but if you're just sitting still, I know there are a lot of people who say, well, what is it that I'm supposed to accomplish? If I die tomorrow, my house is still a mess, you know. Yeah. But the thing is though, yeah, but every day I'm going to keep cleaning it up though, and I'm going to still strive to get out of where I used to be and get into a better frame of mind. And maybe by the time I die, my house will be clean. you know, I hope I clean my house before I die. But the thing, but the thing is though that it's still a goal. I still have something to quote look forward to, you know. But other circumstances, have a tendency to get in the way, and you have to deal with those along the way. And that's what does take courage. And right now, my faith is being tested, I can guarantee you, in certain ways, in that, do I have faith in my own courage? Do I have faith in, anyway? And the answer is yes, but I've just been thrown for a loop. And I just need a chance to just regain my footing, and it'll be all right. It will. My friends, I love you. Thank you so much. Michelle, Project Sky Falls, Teresa, Delaney, I know you're out there. Let's see. I know wait a minute, David Castle. Wait, let me put my glasses on. I lost my good glasses, so I'm down to my little girly glasses. I used to wear these just to piss people off. My Z button sticking. Trying to frustrate you. Yeah, I seen a snake the other day, and the dog almost walked on top of it, and me and the snake both went, "What's up with that?" But anyway, you folks are great. Thank you, thank you. Keep up the prayers. Send prayers out to Miss Deb, please. I don't have an update because I've been a coward. And so I'm going to leave it at that. Yes, you can say a prayer for me, but she needs them more than I do. But my friends, until next time, many things are going to come our way. And we need to have the courage and the patience and the faith to know that we're going to make this. We're going to get through it. One way or the other, we're going to make it through. It'll make everybody reconsider their soul values and their spirit. I know that reconsideration is right there for all of us, I would say. But when death and dying and cancer and illness face us, whether it's us or our friends and our neighbors and our relatives, we face it within ourselves as well. I mean, my aunt is 85 years old, and there are siblings and other relatives that have half her age, a third her age, that have passed. And, you say, well, thank God for Aunt Shirley's, extended health. And God forbid the lack of health for these other relatives that have passed on before her. Anyway, death and dying always has a tendency to kind of, I'm not afraid of it, but I look at other people and their relationship to it, if you will. And it's a hard thing to, go through for them, for me, for us, for all of us. So continued prayers out there. All right, enough of that. I really don't want to be downhearted with this. But, our mortality and why we're here and all that kind of good stuff is like, well, and we may never know when our number is going to be called, and what we're going to have to do before that end. So let's just make the best of it. I know that that's why I'm here. That's what I'm trying to do. And I'm just going to keep trying to do better, if that's possible. So thank you, my friends. Thank you so much. With all the love and prayers, Candy Apple, I see you there. Thank you so much for being here. Teresa, Amanda, I was listening, cleaning up. Yes, thank you. So I continue to pray each and every day that each and every one of you will accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the blessings from the universe. I continue to pray that each and every one of you will accept and receive, along with your friends, your relatives, and all of your relations, past, present, and to come, will learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, and the wisdom from the universe. And I continue to pray that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, and all of your relatives and relations will continue to learn to accept, receive, and to share the knowledge, the wisdom, and the love and the caring that you can get from the universe. Let's continue this, my friends, at another date. Let's continue it in our lives every day. Continue to send out the love and the prayers that are needed and necessary. Thank you for what you have given me and to my friends. Until next time, keep it between the ditches. From South Georgia, down in the dry swamp, yeah, we're already in a drought situation again. Can't dig in the dirt, it's so hard. I say ta-ta for now, keep it between the ditches, and amongst all things, be safe. Cheers, everybody.